basically Web 3.0 with incentives is blockchain and cryptocurrency.
Web3 is filling in, where it is being decentralized at the beginning, where the governance is decentralized, money is decentralized. Everybody can be part of this.
These are the phase where the visionaries and inventors, they're basically figuring out, okay, how to build the next internet.
A small industry which could become very big, and I'm also very bullish about, is the proof of learning.
Well, if you suddenly feel like the world is inundated with jargon and acronyms and catchphrases that are, all of a sudden making you feel like you're taking a class 10 exam with no preparation, don't worry about it. Everybody else in the class is feeling the same. And that's why we are here to get you acquainted with the tech that is likely to be the norm tomorrow. Now, over the past year, right, this series has been at that very forefront of tech that is shaping up to govern our tomorrows, and we've covered a very wide spectrum. And today, we're jumping into Web 3.0. Again, to give you a quick 101, Web 1.0 was the first decade of the internet, sometime between 1995 and 2005, basic websites and stuff like that. Web 2.0 is where we largely are. It's all about mobile, social media, data, analytics, stuff that you've heard for the last couple of years. And Web 3.0, now that is touted to be about decentralization, DApps, AI, NFTs, and user data monetization. And we'll talk all about that. So to discuss this, we have Harsh Rajat, the founder of the Ethereum Push Notification Service, EPNS. Now, EPNS is a notification protocol or a language or a code, very roughly put, that enables users to receive notifications. And we're going to be talking about that very, very soon. And joining us in this conversation, or welcoming back into this conversation, is Siddharth Menon, the co-founder and COO of WazirX. Hi, Sid. Thanks for joining in.
Superb. Looking forward for this.
And I always like to ask you at the beginning of every session with you, which part of the world are you sitting in right now?
I'm on the metaverse.
Is decentralized.
That's the coolest answer. I probably thought you'd have told me some of the different times when I was wondering how many times you cursed us for scheduling this at an obscene hour for you. But the metaverse is a great answer, which means that you can't complain to anybody by saying I was asleep, which is a good thing. So, so guys, Web 3.0, it is touted to be the future, and it's all about to be decentralized. But what I really want to understand into a very consumer layman's perspective is what's going to change, what's going to stay the same, and the add-on thing that I want to understand is what is still theory and what is something that I can touch, feel, experience, and go about with that. Harsh?
Got it. So Ashwin, like just a slight change. Like EPNS, we are basically a Web3 communication layer. The code part comes for developer, but yeah. Just like Twitter DMs, you have Twitter DMs, so you can send or communicate on Twitter, or on WhatsApp, you have numbers, you can communicate on WhatsApp. The surprise was that for Web3, there was no communication there. So, of course, that meant right place, right time, and right idea for us. And that's how EPNS was born. Coming back to the conversation, like the Web3 part. So it's a very interesting conversation, but we have to understand Web2 a little bit more. Like you accurately put it, like Web 1.0, that's just imagine it as a single direction link. So for those of us who were of that generation, so Web 1.0 was when we created GeoCities, or when we created a web page, where when we went over to our server and we said, hey, what's up? And the server replied to everyone with the same content. That was one direction link. Web 2.0 drastically changed that because people realized that for you and me, content can be different. So Twitter is a very good example. Like when Siddharth will log into his Twitter, he'll see a different content than what I'll see and then what you will see. So it's a bi-directional link wherein the user or the client and the server, they're interacting with each other, and the server understands the user and sends different content. So that was Web 2.0. Banking and everything else basically required Web 2.0, and even Netflix. But yeah, in Web 2.0, Main problem that arose was like people were trusting just a single point of server with a single point of failure. So, for example, every information that is flowing to the user is coming from one endpoint, and that led to some of the problems, so some of the issues which Web 3.0 tries to solve. So, the first problem is like your bank balance, for example, is just a database number in let's say HDFC Bank. Now HDFC Bank is quite reputed, but let's say XYZ Bank, and you for some reason they had popular scheme, and now you have a bank account over there. But that bank account is just this server storing your database numbers, and that one computer, one server creates a lot of problems. First of all, the company can erase your account info whenever they want to. Secondly, any hacker can get into the system and can basically stop. And these things have happened, like banks or database have been wiped out. Bank data has changed. Google has stopped working. Any service which we use, the data outage which occurs is because of that. So from there rose the concept of Web 3.0, wherein people said, like very smart people said, okay, this is a single point of failure. What will happen if we make it like multiple points of failure, wherein Google is run by Siddharth, you, and me as a piece of software, and each piece of software, when and they are running on our computer, we are keeping each other in check, and whenever a user is saying, "Hey, I want to know something," or I want to utilize this something or your software, that user can I interact with either one of us, and we will send them the same thing. That essentially is Web 3.0. Of course, you need to add incentives, and that's where cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency comes in. But basically, Web 3.0 with incentives is blockchain and cryptocurrency.
And the most advanced use of blockchain that consumers today experience is cryptocurrency, which is what everybody is now experiencing and diving deep into it. And Sid, that pulls you right into the heart of the conversation. You've been in this space for, grandfather years, or so to speak, figuratively. How are you looking at Web 3.0? Is it old game for you because you've been there for a while?
No, actually, I think it's just the beginning to something really big, and I think how Harsh has filled in the details of what Web3 is. But if you just go to a meta layer and try to understand what Web3 is actually a very big transition that is happening in the humanity in general, right? Like, so we grew from a village to town to a maybe a state, and then state to a country, and every time there's a lot of things that has scaled, right? We have scaled the economy, that how it works, from a village economy we figured out how to work on a town economy, how to work on a country economy, and then finally how two countries work together, right? And it's not just that, but also the governance. These are very two important aspects. Like, you had these small villages managing on their own, going to town, and then now there's a governance that happens at the country level. Now what is happening is, because of the internet, we all got connected. We're all living in this, I call it super country, which doesn't have a name, but it's but to me, conversating with you doesn't matter where you are, which part of the country, or who you are. It just feels like I'm still with you, right? Like, it's just we are sharing the same space. And it started with just the experience of it. Now it is getting more serious, where I can do actually transactions with you, or have some trades with you, and knowledge transfers, and many things around it. So what we are talking about here is another super country, where it will have its own economy layer, its own native currency, its own governance, right? Now, how do we do this? It's a very new problem to have, right? Before, it was always a dictator, or somebody who's or a leader who's sort of governing us and building what we are doing. But today we are in that zone. How do we do this? How do we solve this problem where there are millions of people, or billions of people on the internet, and suddenly we are saying this is a country, or this is how it should be governed? And that is where, a new form of structure that is coming in, right? That's where sort of Web3 is filling in, where it is being decentralized at the beginning, where the governance is decentralized, money is decentralized, everybody can be part of this. And it's now before this it was only the knowledge was, something that you could hold on to on the internet. Now it's also the economy layer that you can hold on to, and we also participate in the governance of how certain things can be. And now then when you look at the grand scheme of things, right, where we are as a society, as a human race, is just progressing to this super country, a big one country oneness, where everything is sort of just built in, right? Like the decentralized governance, everything that we spoke about is now being ported to this, but in a very different way, right? And I think to me that is what it looks like. That's what Web3 is all about. And when you think about that, what we are just starting is just the basics of these sort of things. And would love to see how next generation come on board, where they are already spending a lot more time on the screen, talking to their friends, or being with somebody else or playing games. Now that becomes more connected on the internet, on this. And now we'll think about how the governance work, how the economy works, right? So really looking forward to how this would pan out. But this is what my version of a very very top side what Web3 is.
Which is interesting. We talk about the next generation experiencing these technologies in a different way, right? Now I think about almost 12, 13, 14 years back we were grappling with a concept called the digital divide, which, to be really honest, hasn't been entirely solved at this point of time now as well, right? In the sense that everybody doesn't have a smartphone, everybody doesn't have broadband, far off. At this point of time, when you are actively talking about Web 3.0, how long is it going to take for everybody? What's the kind of timelines that you have given yourself by saying that we want to be able to have moved into this space? Help me understand how we're going to make this transition.
Yeah, I think we have everything. Whenever we have a question, I always look back into history, right? Like, say, trying to figure out, though we have village, town, and country, village still exists. There are still people who are still doing certain things in a certain way. You can't even though a lot of population do move to the town side and try to be more collaborative and work towards. But these things these realms still exist. Even in the digital space, though it's the fastest growing, I would say, a country, if you were to put it, in the world. And it is still growing. It's still growing exponentially, like on a daily basis, right? Like, new and new people are coming on board. My grandparents are on WhatsApp and many other things. So on Facebook as well. So when to think about that, probably in 5 or 10 years back, it was impossible. So putting that same theory here, I think if they are able to take that first leap into Web2, which is completely fine, Web3 would be if fairly a much more easier jump, what I believe. And the kind of innovation that is happening also in the space is accelerating, making sure the generations to come, they don't take too much time figuring out the from a physical world to a digital world. Now within digital world, if you want to jump to 1 to 3, 4, 5, I think it should be much more easier. So it's we are at the beginning, like I said, right? And it reaches that tipping point after which it basically just accelerates. And I think we are getting very close to it, maybe another 2 or 3 years from now, where the basic infrastructure layers have been built out. Things like simple things like notification, metaverse, and many other things have been built out up today. But when it all starts to function together, is when it's just going to kick off and going to be really beautiful.
I know, and Harsh is at that frontier tech right now, right? Building that, those foundations and the infrastructure layer, or so to speak, for the real innovations to start working about in the years to come. How are you looking at this, Harsh? What's the kind of timelines that you have given yourself to see the kind of critical mass that is going to come in? And secondly, you have a bigger challenge of educating people as well. So the transition from Web 2 to Web 3. What are your thoughts here?
Got it. So I really agree with Sid over here. I think that the transition it's already occurring. But yeah, that bell curve, we haven't even started reaching the mid of that bell curve, or that critical mass of the bell curve. I like to think of it, or the adoption of Web 2 to Web 3, like the adoption which my dad takes when you tell him to use net banking, because for him that's the biggest hurdle, and he recently crossed that. So I think that will happen. Like people who are from the current generation, for them these things are very easy to understand, and people who are from the Web 2 generation, there is still a lot of learning track. And that is where infrastructure comes in, and that is where innovation comes in. So these building blocks, what they are doing is they're basically creating the groundwork, or creating the blocks which can be used to ensure the faster transition, and to ensure a very smooth transition. Like, with notifications or with communication, the first thing we started like a year back. Now as I said, like we were building this, we were the first ones to build it, so we didn't even know what to build. So the best way to do that was, going to all the uh, all the cool projects of Web 3.0. For example, like Uniswap or Aave or Gitcoin or Polygon or WazirX, or so many other cool projects, and just ask them like, what do you want a communication layer to be? Like there is clearly a problem, you cannot communicate with the user. What do you want it to be? And based on their inputs, and by working with them, we're able to create this version 1, which we just launched like a month back, and it has just shot up. Like finally, you are able to get communication on your wallet address. But that's just one problem, right? Communication is just one problem. There's so many things that is still suffering in Web 3.0. For example, like people talk about metaverse and people talk about gaming. Uh, there are very few projects which are able to get into that. And I know, like Sid is very attached to gaming and very attached to metaverse. And he's probably one of the few people who's leading that vision, who's basically thinking like what's the future and how to get there. So yeah, what I'm saying is like at this phase, these are the phase where the visionaries and inventors, they're basically figuring out, okay, how to build the next internet, and what sort of problems to solve. And once that infrastructure is laid out, which I agree will probably be a couple of years, only then, technology will become invisible, and therefore adoption will increase.
Just
At a
stay with
point
me
of
there
time.
for a moment, because I'm curious about something that you just said. Technology will increase and adoption will jump up as well, right? So, which means what are the current roadblocks or bottlenecks or speed breakers, if you speak, which are currently, impeding that surge?
So it just very a very cool example is like, if you want to interact with a DApp right now, then basically most of the time you'll need their tokens, which is fine, which is people driven, token driven economy. But what happens is that once you go deeper, you realize that the blockchain also has the native token, and you need to have it. So more often than not, what happens is like your one action, what you want to do in Web 3.0, it becomes 10 action, because now you're logging to an exchange, you're buying those coins, then you're sending it somewhere, and then you're getting to use that thing. And even once you use it, like so many things are there which are not really ready for the infrastructure to become seamless. Just heading back a bit, like these 10 actions, like one action becoming 10 actions, this should not be it. Like when we are using internet right now, we don't worry about, okay, I put in my credit card, will the payment go or not? Do I have to go to the bank to do any other thing, to clear the payment or to submit anything else? Everything happens from that same interface. OTP will come. a pop-up will open, whatever is there, everything happens from a single interface. And that is technology becoming invisible. Like even this conversation we are having right now, there are 4 or 5 protocols. There's HTTPS protocol, there's WebRTC protocol, which is for video, and so many else. And they are interacting with each other, and we don't get to know about it. For us or for users, the only thing matters is that we are chatting, we are having a good time, and the video quality is good. We don't really care like how everything is working underneath. But let's not forget that was not the case 10 years back. Like 10 years back, we couldn't do video chat because that layer, that infrastructure was not built. So that's what I emphasize on. Like when I say Web3, I know that this technology is still not invisible, because the moment that one action doesn't take me 10 actions and I am then communicated about it, and the technology is better in terms of Web 2.0. These three things, once these three things are tick marked, only then we can say that we are here. Technology is better than Web 2.0. That's the only thing we are tick marking right now, by the way.
Interesting. Sid, am I fair in reckoning that perhaps the biggest challenge that WazirX sees at this point of time is FUD about everything connected with blockchain and cryptocurrency? But help me understand, what more are the challenges that you see at this point of time beyond the regulation aspect, which is an entirely different discussion for a different day?
I think building that ecosystem layer, right? That's very important. If you think from a user point of view, and then think what is needed for him to be on the Web3, that is what we want to solve, right? Like not just as Basilics, but I think India has to solve. And one is obviously, if you were to use Ethereum, right? The basic problem is, if you want to use Ethereum, or if you want to use dApps like push notification, you need to own those tokens first, right? And then transfer that and then use it, right? So to use a product like a network like Ethereum, you need to have that Ether, transfer the Ethereum and start using it, right? So we as an exchange, we are first primarily just solving that, right? Like the basic, that's like, A to B problem. And then beyond that, we'll have to build onto a better UX onboarding to the whole dApps application. So in the whole, not just WazirX, but I think there's a lot of builders who have been working day and night to build solutions for new folks to come onto the Web3, right? Like so, all the wallets that you would see probably in 2017 has been simplified by extent. And not just that, now before it was just a wallet, but today is more than a wallet. It can do X, Y, Z, many things around it. You can even trade within your wallet. So if you see, everything is being built out, right? Like today, it's not as difficult how it was probably in 2017. Things have become much more easier for anybody to just being on Web3 and start using it. But definitely not ready for somebody to just get started. But I think we're getting there, right? Like first is just solve one problem, and the second is how do we solve it better, right? So now everybody's trying to figure out the base level problem and the second level problem. I think it's just going to be a cycle. Good to see how this is all panning out to be, but definitely not how bad it was in 2017, right? So I'm really looking forward for this.
And then talking about base level problems, I mean, I would assume that push notifications is a base level problem, and I would take it for granted. so let's talk about that. Harsh, tell me more about EPNS. How does it work? How is it different? And more importantly, how is it going to make my life as a non-tech person? How is it going to make my life easier?
Got it. The name is a bit of a misnomer now, guys, because we have gone multi-chain, and basically push notification was just a start. We recently announced wallet to wallet chat, and then video call or decentralized video call will also come. But yeah, just for now, treat it as everything push notification service till we think of a better name. So what we are essentially the communication layer for Web 3.0, or the native communication layer for Web 3.0. As I mentioned in an earlier example, like for anything you do in Web 2.0, services, they basically reach out to you as a user, and you don't go to those services. You don't go to your Gmail, you don't go to your Paytm, don't go to your Slack, or you don't even go to your WhatsApp. Services basically send a notification to you that hey, something of importance might have occurred for you, and what do you do? And this is the same thing which we do every morning. We get up, we look at our phone, even something as critical as our finances, notifications come to us. We are not going to those services. And that's how we live, basically, historically. That's how we live in Web 2.0. But when you come to Web 3.0, when we came, we realized very quickly, people went for speed, security, and scalability, and that was really needed for blockchain to work. But because of that, thankfully, no one went for communication. So we had the opportunity to create it from scratch, basically invent it. So that's what we did exactly. It's basically a decentralized communication protocol using which any app, any smart contract, any backend can send communication starting with notifs or notifications. Uh, that are tied to wallet address. And these communication can be gasless, off-chain, or on-chain, whatever you prefer. And these communication, they are coming from an open communication layer. So the end goal and the vision is, and of course, you have multi-chain. So the end goal and the vision is that crypto wallets like MetaMask or Trust will end up integrating APNS protocol at one point or the other. And you, as a crypto wallet, which is your shared username in Web 3.0. When you log into these wallets, you will be seeing all these communication coming to you. We started with notifications. As I said, our projects were really awesome to us when we went over there, taking this idea. So we are working with Uniswap, we are working with Aave, ENS, Polygon, Gitcoin, WazirX, DYDX, Banker, and on top 50 or so, they are Ethereum based project, which basically means that these users they are now getting decentralized notifications. So are we like that's a global bank? In case a loan expires over there now, you get a notification. Now for Polygon, like layer 2 to layer 1, very soon you will be getting that notification, and also we will be coming on Polygon natively. For Gitcoin, again, when you are funding someone, you'll get a notification. So the basic building block, like communication. Finally, these services are able to communicate to wallet addresses that are the native username. And yeah, that's EPNS in a nutshell. Very happy to share. We started way back in March 2020 through ETH Global Hackathon. We basically wrote to Ethereum Foundation. We were surprised ourselves like notifications doesn't exist. So the safe bet was writing to them and seeing, or they saying that go away. This has been built so many times. But yeah, pleasantly surprised. They said it's a very neat idea. Hasn't been built it out in ETH Global. So that's what we did. And over there, we got a lot of love from Web3 mentors like Stanley or Mariano Conti and a lot of other peeps. So yeah, that basically started the journey. From there, we went to Gitcoin kernel. We were the top projects over there. From there, we went to Gitcoin Grants Round 7. We were the top three projects over there. That was when we realized that this has a lot of power and a lot of idea. Very shortly, Polygon gave us their grant, and after that, Aave did. And after that, we raised our seed. So again, we got lucky. We got Balaji Srinivasan, we got Binance Labs, we got True Ventures, we got Mariano Conti, DeFi Dad, Sandeep Nalwal, Preeti Kasireddy, Nishil, who is one of the advisor. So yeah, he also assisted us right from the very beginning. We call him like a third ghost founder because of that. And of course, Sandeep, he has assisted us so much. So because of the love we receive from all these Web3 mentors and Web3 peeps, we were basically able to build the communication layer right from India. Like we are the ones who invented it, so we say it very proudly. Uh, so yeah.
Excellent stuff. It was a lovely, lovely story. More power to you, of course, and more strength to you to see it become the base thing, which will soon, well, become invisible but hold a fort, the communication protocols across Web 3.0. And coming pretty much to the end of our conversation, but I just do want to pick your head on. Um, what do you see are the trends that are likely to be prominent this year? There's lots of stuff happening, to be really honest. We read about a million different things happening, but from somebody who is actually building that, the key technology layer, what are some of the more interesting things in your radar?
Got it. So I think this is going to be a year of the scaling. Polygon already made a big impact with the 450 million round they raised. I also see metaverse coming up, like a form of metaverse will come up, or generation one of metaverse, or a more refined generation one of metaverse in gaming will come up. Those are the two things I see coming in. Uh, One thing I also expect a surprise to happen, just like the surprise happened with DeFi. Like no one knew DeFi until DeFi was invented. So I see that as a third major thing happening. Like it will just be before our eyes, but we haven't noticed it, and someone will pick it up, and we'll be like, holy shit, no one really thought about this before. So yeah, I think that holy shit moment will also happen this year.
Well,
Sid,
looking forward to
back.
a lot more of those. Sit up and see it like, hey, why didn't I think of that kind of a moments out there? I mean, those are fun stuff. Sid, your thoughts. What are some things that you are particularly looking out for and you hope will come to pass?
I think Harsh painted a very technical aspect of what to look forward to in 2020 or 2022. For me, I think it's more around consumer side adoption per se. DeFi was definitely a very important trend to pick up because that built the financial layers for a lot more things to come. Where I see is the whole gaming industry adapting more aggressively into the crypto or the Web3 game side. Now we have already seen generation one of economics being played out within the game, and there are already people who are working on different other types of economies. So I think that there's a lot more progress happening there, and we should see something else happening. The another small I think I won't say small project, but a small industry which could become very big, and I'm also very bullish about, is the proof of learning, right? In general, that's something that's been academically and also outside also being tried out. And as in when you meet more teams who are working on it, it just feels like this is another big thing that could be a highlight for 2022. Again, we don't know that yet, but that would be a very interesting problem to solve. Like even for example, there are so many developers who've been funding a lot more devs to actually learn a particular language like Solidity, Rust, or anything else. But imagine now you have a proof of learning as something on the blockchain, which can actually essentially say, hey, this guy learned this, so he deserves the grant, or things like that. So I mean, just starting with as simple as that to even in a larger scheme of things, when universities then being centralized becomes more decentralized. There's more voting that is happening, and certificates are on the blockchain rather than off chain. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things, innovation happening there, a lot of experiments happening there. Pretty looking forward to how this would also pan out. I wish I could just fast forward a few years from now, but it just feels so slow, everything, and you just can't wait. I mean, you just have to basically wait patiently and see these things through. So yeah, pretty excited about where things are heading now.
we'll pick your brain month after month after month after month, and after like 3 years, we can do a before and after comparison to see how we ticked off on what we expected to happen and what did happen. But you know what? It's fascinating listening to both of you because I sense an oxymoron of a good problem, which is that there's a lot happening, and this is the time to not just sit back, but really try and see which one of these is really going to cross the line first. And all of them are likely to cross the line first, but a lot of these are likely to, get there further ahead. Like, of course, EPNS, which is very basic, very essential. You would have assumed it should have been done, but there you are. You guys are going out there and grabbing that by the neck and ensuring that that gets done for the generations to come. And Web 3.0 gets built out with a robust foundation. And it is a super country which is transcending the conventional borders and understanding that we have lived in the past. And I'm looking forward to the year and the years to come. And I'll look forward to connecting with both of you in the months to come to understand just how your trend meter is reading, what is really coming up ahead, what are you working on, and how can people like me experience all of that. On that note, Harsh, Sid, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today, and it's good having you on Business Inside India.
No, it was good to be here, Ashwin. Thanks for
Thanks,
having me.
Yeah.